I'm a pro gamer now, guys. Fucking duck loot boxes.
And today we are met with guest Keon from the channel JRPG Keon. We're gonna talk about RPGs in general today, so sit back and enjoy.
I better see your gamer face.
I'm gonna go pro gamer, okay?
Okay.
Put on your gamer glasses.
Oh yeah.
What I think we should talk about first is just to ease us in is the most notable Western RPG. Notice I say Western this year or this
Lame.
generation. Yeah, okay.
Western RPG this year? Dude, here's the problem with Western RPGs, right? It's that it's difficult to tell what exactly is a Western RPG anymore because the market has become so saturated. Like, it used to be like character customization and open world environments were what kind of defined Western RPGs, I would argue, right? But now everything has that. And so, like, I don't know.
We're gonna talk about that later.
I mean, I would somewhat agree, but I would also argue that it's still pretty clear to me what's a Western RPG and what's not. Like, what game do you have confusion about whether it's a Western RPG?
Fallout 4 and Fallout 76.
Absolutely not JRPG, you dingus.
Fallout 4 is a Western RPG. Fallout 76, I have no clue because I haven't played the game, but I don't really see how. What?
Okay.
It's basically online Fallout 4.
First of all, William, we were talking about Western RPGs in that context, so it's not a JRPG, obviously, because it was made in the West. But I think Fallout 76. I think Fallout 4 presents an interesting example of what exactly entails a Western RPG, because first of all, a lot of the kind of RPG elements, like the point system and stuff, were kind of removed, and the perk system was kind of fucked up. And also the fact that they included an actual storyline with an actual character, and they basically removed most of the individuality or the customizability of your the character. You were kind of shoehorned into this one role of this parental figure trying to find their fucking kid. You couldn't do whatever the fuck you wanted. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I kind of agree, but I would say that in a lot of Western RPGs, at least with video games, you can't truly do anything you want because there's no DM. But
that's true.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree that it's probably watered down compared to something like Fallout 3. But at the end of the day, there was still choices there. You still had like those different factions you could join or whatever. And there was still a level up system. Maybe it was watered down a little bit, but I wouldn't say it's not an RPG. I think you can actually make a pretty good argument that Mass Effect isn't an RPG, at least from a mechanic standpoint, from a choice standpoint.
Are we talking about Mass Effect in general, or Mass Effect like Andromeda, like the recent one that came out?
Andromeda's not a real game.
I haven't played Andromeda, but I think you can make a strong case for Mass Effect 2 and 3 not being an RPG in a mechanic sense. In a choice sense, like in terms of role-playing, it's definitely there. But in terms of like the level-up system, it's pretty lacking.
Yeah, you're definitely right about that. Although that does lead to a question exactly what entails an RPG, because I thought when for example, I was watching your video, Keon, like on your channel about exactly what defines a JRPG and what defines a Western RPG. And one of the things that you delineated was the fact that Western RPGs are a lot more open, I would say, and they have the ability to they follow after the role player, the original tabletop mechanic of you as the player can do whatever the fuck you want with your character, right?
Yeah,
so
I definitely agree.
In that sense, Mass Effect was kind of not a Western RPG. It would follow the more JRPG model.
No. Mass Effect.
No. In that sense, I would say it is a Western RPG.
Really?
But I would argue that the aspect where it's not a Western RPG is more so in the combat system. But I think in terms, like, in Mass Effect, you're making very significant choices. Like, I believe in the first game, you choose whether one of two characters dies, and like literally up until the end of the third game, that character is dead and the other one's alive. And there's plenty of choices like that as well. So I don't think when you're talking about Western RPGs, this is my problem with the genre as a whole. It's the reason why I don't play it as much as JRPGs, is that while it tries to replicate something like D&D, it can't do it because there's no dungeon master. At least not until we have like super good AI DMs. But that's something like for the future, you know? So in that sense, like it attempts to replicate it, but because there's no DM, there is still some aspect of like, there is still some sort of fixed plot to a certain extent. There is still some parts where you have to get locked in, or else you can't really make it a video game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that definitely makes sense, because the entire point of the tabletop genre was that it was an interactive game that evolved as you played it, for both the person who made the game and the person who is playing the game, right? Whereas
absolutely.
Yeah, there's limits to the programming, etc. You can only do so much.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go all the way for like complete 100% freedom. So I think as long as there are choices in the game that have like a huge effect on your overall playthrough and have like branching paths and stuff, plus like D&D like combat, I think you've got a Western RPG there.
What do you define as D&D like combat?
Like as in, like you have, you hit to roll, you roll for damage. You've got stats that go up as you level up. You've got turn-based combat or even action combat sometimes. Like I would say, as long as there's some sort of logical system where you roll die. It obviously in a game, it doesn't like literally roll a die in front of your face, but behind the scenes, that's what it's doing, right? So as long as that's what's going on, I would say it's an RPG. But yeah, so what your question was, what most notable Western RPG of this generation, right?
Yeah, or year, or generation. Generation gives you more protection, but like personally,
go ahead.
Personally, for me, like from the normie point of view, it's probably has to be Witcher 3, even though I don't like that game. It's
I mean, that's the answer to the question. If you're asking what's the most notable Western RPG, it has to be Witcher 3. I don't see any other potential answer to that question. Maybe he's going against the hive mind.
Well, here's one, like this, just like completely off topic. He likes the Star Wars prequels, and he likes the Star Wars prequel pod racing scene.
Can you shut the fuck up? I don't like the prequels, alright? I like the pod racing scene. Fuck you.
But Will, going back to your question, there was one game I wanted to talk about. Like, the way you worded your question, the most notable Western RPG is The Witcher 3. But my personal favorite has probably been a game called Divinity Original Sin. I'm sure you guys have heard of it.
Yeah.
That's like a true almost a true D&D type of.
Yeah, I mean, I was just blown away by the role-playing aspect of that game. First off, though, I really liked the fact that the game was just super colorful. I feel like Western games sometimes, like, they just make their games gray, and it's really gross to look at, and I'm not a fan of it. Like, I'm not a fan of realistic art style. So, like, right off the bat, when I played Divinity, there was just color all over the place, and it was really nice. But like the first like little bit of the game, you're sort of solving this murder mystery, and like I really felt like I was role playing. Like I actually felt like I was playing D&D in that situation, or at least as close as a video game has ever gotten to D&D, because there were so many ways to get information in that first little tidbit of the game. Like you could talk to different NPCs, and they have like different info, each of them. And you're really just piecing it together. Some of them won't talk to you unless you get certain karma with them. Some of them will stop talking to you if you say something that they don't like. And it really just felt like you could do anything you want to like get to the truth of who did it. And that was pretty cool, if you ask me. So can we agree that the most notable Western RPG is The Witcher 3, and the most notable upcoming one is probably Cyberpunk?
Yeah, we can agree on that.
Yes, I can probably agree on that. Yeah.
I mean, I don't see how you could contest that, but Yeah.
I'll agree, but then like bitterly because I really don't like Witcher 3. But I'll agree.
I mean, I don't either, but it's the most notable one. I don't know how you could argue with that.
No, I can't argue against it.
Okay, let's talk about why we don't like it. By the way, what I'm honestly like baffled by the fact that literally anyone I will talk to will concede that The Witcher 3's combat is shit, and yet they still think it's one of the greatest games ever. I just don't understand how you can think that 50% of a game is shit and still think it's the greatest thing ever. It just does not register with me.
The combat is like the core gameplay, and like it's just absolutely awful to play. It's like floaty.
Yeah, it's so clunky and awkward. It's really bad. I just don't. I was honestly shocked by how bad it was because I was looking forward to playing the game, and I couldn't do it, man. No, I don't care how good the story is. I can't do that shitty combat.
I think it depends on what you value in a game. Like some people are in it for the experience, whereas other people enjoy it for the skill or mechanical like side of it, right? So I mean, if you're in it for the experience.
Yeah, so I agree, but the thing is for me is that no matter how good a story is, the gameplay has to be at least okay for me to enjoy it, if that makes sense. And like I get if you can stomach bad gameplay for a good story, I get it. I just don't get how like the collective gaming community can really say The Witcher 3 is like the greatest game of all time. It's surprising to me.
Like you mentioned these things about experience and like skill, but it's hard to actually have the skill when the core gameplay is bad. It's hard to have a good experience when the core gameplay is bad.
Oh yeah, you know? like I said, there are different types of people who like different things, right? If you're more focused on skill and mechanics, then obviously a game that is either clunky or not mechanically intense will not stimulate you as much, right? So that's what I'm trying to. That's the dichotomy I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. But so let's say for me, if I found that a game had a great story and like bad gameplay. Like I wouldn't play the game, but let's say I stomach through it to the end, I would probably say like, okay, I love the story in this game, but the gameplay is trash, so it's a 6 out of 10. That's what I would say.
That's fair.
Or like I played a game called Tokyo Xanadu last year. It's a JRPG, and I had fun with it, but the story was just so garbage that after a while I started skipping every cutscene, and I only played the gameplay. And I had fun with it, but I'm not going to say like it's the best game ever because the story is kind of shit, you know? And like it was focusing on story too. Like it was trying to have a good story because there was so many damn cutscenes and so much talking, and it failed at that. So I can't really say Tokyo Xanadu is the best game ever because it's not.
What do you guys? Like, go ahead, Will.
I can easily say that Witcher 3 combat is shit because I enjoy a game like Neptunia much more.
You got shit face though. That's all good, man.
Neptunia is like.
I think okay. I think Witcher 3 is probably better than Neptunia. I'll go on the record and say that.
I absolutely disagree. I will fight you fist to fist, and I will lose, but I will still lose.
Yeah, you'll definitely lose to me.
You practice Taekwondo or some stuff, but I will fight.
Close enough. Karate.
Same thing.
Yeah.
No,
Jesaya, were you gonna say something? Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. I was wondering what the general consensus was on Undertale. Because
I haven't played enough of it.
First of all, where do we place it? And second of all, I mean, it's really good, but like, how does it develop the RPG, formula in a way that we haven't seen before? Like, as far as I understand, there is a definite, what's the word? There's a definite ability to choose in that game, right? So you're able to make choices that actually fucking matter, right? And the game calls you out for making choices, right? So that's big, right? That's an element that's, as you've described it, is Western RPG. But I can't help but feel when I look at that game that it has the aesthetics and the quirky feeling of a classic JRPG, like an anime style pixel JRPG.
So I haven't played much of Undertale. I played like an hour of it, and then I got busy and moved on to something else. But I've seen a lot of people online call it a JRPG, and I've always been curious why. I don't know what the answer to that is, but clearly the game's got something that resembles a JRPG because so many people call it a JRPG. You know?
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think the reason why people call it a JRPG, not just because it wasn't made in Japan, obviously, but it's because of the aesthetics of it, right? It feels like a JRPG, like Will said earlier. But any other,
I could definitely see that from what I've played. Yeah.
Yeah, but any other way of categorizing it, like the dichotomy we said earlier between fixed narrative and loose and choice-based narrative, kind of falls apart when you talk about Undertale. So it's purely based on
I would
aesthetics.
say that I wouldn't say it fully falls apart. I would say that there's no rule set in stone. Like there's a lot of aspects of a JRPG. Like you could have turn-based combat, you could have a party of well-developed characters, you could have anime art style, you could have well-defined characters, and then you could also have choice. So you could have like a JRPG that borrows that stuff from Western RPGs. I don't think it's and we probably should have clarified this earlier. I don't think it's fully set in stone. And for example, there's a series called Shin Megami Tensei, which is definitely a JRPG and definitely has important choices that will affect your playthrough. So yeah, I think as a general rule, JRPGs don't have choices, but you can't have a 100% absolute thing. There's games that are JRPGs that will have choices. There's Western RPGs that might not have that many choices.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so I'm bored of Western RPGs. Let's do JRPGs, the superior genre of RPGs.
All right, you guys go ahead, because my expertise kind of starts dying down once we get away from Western RPGs, because I haven't played enough JRPGs.
Okay.
All right, fair enough. I mean, okay, go ahead.
This is gonna be tough because there's so many. There's DQ11, Dragon Quest 11. There's like Persona 5. There's Nier Automata, if you can count that.
I would count it. Yeah.
I don't know.
I would count Nier Automata.
They're all so good.
What? So is your for what, best RPG or most notable RPG?
Most notable. Actually.
Because most notable is Final Fantasy 15 or Kingdom Hearts 3. That's the most notable. Like, because just in terms of sheer popularity, they're way above anything else, even still.
Yeah.
I mean, we could say 15 sucks. I mean, I kind of agree. I don't think it's the greatest game ever, for sure. But in terms of pure sales, I think it's like tripled Persona 5 sales. It's not even close.
Yeah, that's true. Out of sheer popularity, those take it.
What about the most recent Zelda game? Or the most recent Zelda game?
That's not a JRPG.
You know what? I was actually thinking about Breath of the Wild today, and I would say it's not a JRPG, but it's close, and I could definitely see the argument.
Wait, why would you say that it's not?
Okay, so just for some context, there's quite a bit of a debate in the gaming community about whether Zelda is a JRPG or an RPG in general. And the series in general, yeah. And I've always been like very strongly on the no side, like it's not even close to being an RPG. Breath of the Wild, I could see a much better argument for it being considered an RPG. But I was thinking about it today, and I think at the end of the day, I wouldn't call it an RPG because of the weapon breaking system, right? So like if I had weapons that became progressively stronger while I was playing the game and they never broke, so like I kept getting better and better and better weapons progressively, and couple that with the fact that you could upgrade your armor in Zelda, then I would call it a JRPG. But I think in terms of weapons, since they break after like 3 uses, you're constantly switching between stronger and weaker stuff, and it's hard to see like a progression where Link is getting consistently stronger throughout the game. But I definitely see the argument with Breath of the Wild more than something like Ocarina of Time.
would you consider Breath of the Wild to be an RPG in general?
No.
Okay.
I wouldn't. If it was an RPG, it would be a JRPG.
Right. Oh yeah, Will.
Yeah.
You were playing this kind of. It was like an RPG earlier, right? That you bought, and then you were just kind of like farming and shit. You said yeah, Kenshi. You're just doing random shit. I was actually genuinely interested in talking about that in this podcast because I have no idea what the fuck it is. Like, what is it?
So basically, it's like The Sims, but it's in a post-apocalyptic world.
It strikes me more as a simulation game.
Yeah, it's like an RTS simulation. Like you have command squads of people. You have to train them all individually by micromanaging them, and like it's really sick. Like because you have to make your start, and you're not. The lunar game emphasizes that your character is not very special. It's just a regular dude, right? And like you start off the game, and you can't fight anything except for get beat up. But the thing is, getting beat up increases your toughness. So the only way to like get stronger is by just fighting over and over again, despite everything, or picking your battles. Or if you want to make your money, you have to set up like a mining operation and start an industry, like little by little.
Sounds pretty cool.
Then you make your own base, and then you have your own guards, and you have like 30 people, and then you guys like just like destroy shit. And sometimes you like
if my backlog wasn't insane, I would definitely play that.
Yeah, it was wild. Like if you lose a limb, you can replace a limb with a mechanical limb.
That's cool.
Wait. Okay, so why exactly is this a simulation game rather than an RPG? Like, does an RPG have to have a story element to it?
Well, because this one is like more micromanaging, like automated action.
Oh, I see. I thought immediately of RuneScape. Am I wrong with that?
I mean, RuneScape's more of an MMO.
Yeah, what I was thinking of is like you have this one character, right, where you just do a bunch of random shit and continuously to get to like build your stats and whatever. And then you get money and shit. And there's no intrinsic purpose to the game. That you're just.
I mean, if you break it down like that, all the games are the same.
Well, every MMO is pointless.
Actually, yeah, you're kind of right.
Literally, it's a pointless genre. Fuck MMOs, guys. I'm on the record saying that. Okay, screw MMOs. I hate them.
The only MMO I can deal with is Final Fantasy 14. That's it.
If I had to play an MMO, it would be that one, definitely. Because at least it would have more that I would enjoy.
What was different about Final Fantasy 14?
It's anime. It's weeaboo.
Oh, okay. I know. What I mean is just like what made it an MMO? Because I don't know much about this game.
It's basically World of Warcraft, but like with anime.
Oh, really? What the hell?
Oh, yeah. I think you're confused by the numbering. So Square does this weird thing where they'll make their MMOs numbered games for whatever reason, even though they should really be spin-offs. So for the Final Fantasy series, 11 and 14 are actually MMOs. They're not real Final Fantasy.
Oh, 11 was good. The original 14 was bad. Realm Reborn is...
Yeah. I mean, Square is just ridiculously dumb sometimes. If you're an RPG fan, it's just frustrating.
Here's the funny thing about Final Fantasy 14. The original release was so bad, they wrote the discontinuation in the destruction of the game into the story.
Yeah, I remember that. Oh, wait, I didn't know they wrote it in, but I remember it being really shit.
Yeah, no, the game was so bad. They're just like, we need to reboot it. So they started with Realm Reborn. And in Realm Reborn, they start off with a cinematic. They're just like, oh, the original world was completely destroyed by Bahamut. And I'm just like, love my...
That's pretty funny. Not gonna lie. At least they have a good sense of humor about it. But yeah, going... So, Will, you brought up Dragon Quest XI earlier, and yeah, you said it's kind of in the discussion. Would you say that it's in the discussion with Persona 5 and Nier Automata for like best RPG?
I don't think so. Honestly, I brought it up because it's like it's new, but I don't.
I would agree that it's not up to par with them. I think for me, the Dragon Quest series. So I'm not super experienced with Dragon Quest. I've only played 2 of the games. But it strikes me as a standard RPG that's done very well. And what that means is that It's definitely above average. It's definitely a 7 or an 8 out of 10. They're good games. They're worth playing. But I don't think Dragon Quest will ever be in my upper echelon of favorite JRPGs of all time. It's just a very, very traditional game that's done to its best possible, you know? So that's why I wouldn't put it up there in the same tier as like Persona 5.
So for games to be like extremely good and top tier, they have to be groundbreaking?
Not groundbreaking necessarily. I would say they've got to have... How do I describe... I mean, Dragon Quest is what you would read in the textbook for a JRPG, whereas something like Persona has a plot that I would say is better than most JRPGs, and it's got more to the gameplay than just like pure turn-based, if that makes sense. Like there's a lot of stuff to the gameplay in Persona.
Yeah.
Whereas, and it's not 100% standard, whereas Dragon Quest's gameplay is really good. It's just very traditional. So like, it's not like Persona is like new per se. I would just say it has that little bit extra to it that puts it above the rest.
Right, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, like it's got like, you know, it's just the fact that you could switch between personas. It's cool. Just the fact that you could sort of target enemy weaknesses and get an extra attack. The story is just a little bit more involved. The style of the game is amazing. You know, the menus, the UI, the free time events. Like, it's not a traditional JRPG, whereas Dragon Quest, the story is like you beat the evil dragon, you save the princess, or you save the world. You're the chosen boy. The combat is like pure turn-based in the sense that like you go, the enemies go, and you have physical attacks and magic attacks, and you've got some characters that use certain weapons, you've got others that use other weapons, you've got black mages, you've got white mages. So it's like basically everything you would expect from your typical RPG done very well.
So the difference is that Dragon Quest would be kind of like common and it's not as unique as some of the other titles that you're referencing here.
Yeah, I would say that.
Okay, fair enough.
But that's just my opinion, by the way. Like, there are diehard Dragon Quest fans. There are people who have Dragon Quest as their number one RPG series of all time, and I'm definitely not a hater of the franchise by any means.
Right. Well, everyone, thank you for tuning into this week's podcast. If you like what you listened to and you want more, we have much more available on our YouTube channel. Please consider subscribing. If you'd like to contact us personally, you can talk to us on our Instagram, our Twitter, our email, at any of the links below. Amy will provide them gratefully. For more great media discussion and analysis, visit our website at www.vaultpublication.com. That's TheVaultPublication.com.